Thank you for tuning in. This is Lance, your host of Strange Bites, where we take real science and wrap it up in a creative story and serve it in 15 minutes or less. If you're enjoying the show, please hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Give me a follow on social media. And now, let's jump into the next bite. Wow, 50 episodes. 50 strange bites of the universe. From the first quiet story to this one. Tonight we mark a milestone. 50 times we've sat together in the dark, turning real science into something a little more mysterious, a little more human. To every one of you who has listened, shared, questioned, or simply stayed strange with me, thank you. You've kept the signal alive. This is Strange Bites episode 50. Let's begin. In the endless library of you, 3 billion letters are stacked like stars in a dark sky. Most of them sit quietly. One of them, just one, is sometimes written wrong. And that single wrong letter almost erased a baby's future before he ever learned to say his own name. This is the story of KJ Muldoon, and the night scientists decided the code of life itself could be rewritten for one child alone. It's August 2024. In a hospital room in Philadelphia, Kyle and Nicole Muldoon hold their fourth child, a boy they call KJ. At first, everything seems ordinary. Then the quiet signs appear. He sleeps too much. He eats too little. His body grows heavy with something invisible and toxic. Doctors race, blood tests, monitors, and finally the answer arrives like a verdict. Carbamoyl phosphate synthetase 1 deficiency, CPS1 deficiency, a urea cycle disorder so rare it strikes roughly 1 in 1.3 million babies. Half of them do not survive early infancy. The liver cannot turn the ammonia left over from breaking down protein into harmless urea. Ammonia builds. It can poison the brain. It can kill. KJ inherited 2 different spelling errors in the same gene, one from each parent. Without a working version of the CPS1 enzyme, every meal of protein was a potential threat. The only traditional path was a liver transplant, but he was far too small and fragile for that surgery. For months, the family lived in the hospital, measuring every gram of protein, watching ammonia levels like a storm radar. Then, 2 physician scientists walked into the story. Dr. Rebecca Ahrens-Nicholas at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and Dr. Kiran Musunuru at Penn Medicine. They had been preparing for years for exactly this kind of moment. They looked at KJ's unique mutations and asked a question no one had ever answered in a living infant. What if we don't wait for a drug that treats thousands of people? What if we build a medicine for this one child, this one misspelling, and we build it now? They turned to a molecular tool born from CRISPR, but refined into something gentler and more precise, an adenine-based editor. Think of DNA as a long book, written in only 4 letters, A, T, C, and G. Most older gene editing tools act like scissors. They cut the page. A base editor is more like a molecular pencil. It can change one single letter, specifically an A into a G without cutting both strands of the DNA double helix. It slips in, rewrites the typo, and leaves the rest of the sentence intact. The team had 6 months. They sequenced KJ's entire genome. They designed a guide RNA that would lead the base editor to the exact wrong letter in his CPS1 gene. They packaged the editor's instructions as messenger RNA and wrapped them inside tiny fatty bubbles called lipid nanoparticles, the same kind of microscopic delivery vehicles used in some vaccines. Those nanoparticles would travel through the bloodstream and be taken up by the liver cells that needed the correction most. Industry partners worked through nights. Academic labs tested safety. They built a mouse model carrying KJ's exact mutations. They checked for off-target editing across the genome. They studied non-human primates. Components flew in from multiple states and countries. The therapy received a name that quietly honored its first patient, KJ Gurin Abing Simmerin, or simply K-Abe. In late February 2025, when KJ was just past 6 months old, the first infusion went into his vein. He slept through it. 2 more carefully escalated doses followed the weeks after. The FDA had granted expanded access permission in a matter of days because the alternative was watching a baby's brain risk permanent damage with every rising ammonia spike. Then the quiet miracles began. KJ's body started tolerating more protein. The dose of nitrogen scavenger medicine he needed dropped. When ordinary childhood viruses came, the kind that used to send ammonia levels soaring, he recovered without crisis. He gained weight. He sat up. He began to reach for the world the way healthy babies do. In early June 2025, after more than 300 days in the hospital, KJ went home to his siblings. He's not fully cured. He still needs monitoring. The editing did not reach every liver cell, but the most dangerous edge of the disease has been blunted. The child who was expected to face a transplant or worse is learning to walk and throw a ball. This was the first time a personalized in vivo-based editing therapy, designed after birth, manufactured for one unique mutation, and delivered into a living infant, had ever been done. Now the deeper questions rise. We've always lived inside a story written before we arrived. Our genes were fixed pages. For most of human history, the only power we had was to endure the typos, or at best manage their symptoms. With base editing, we have picked up the pencil. We can change a single letter in a living person's book of life and watch the story rewrite itself in real time. So what does that mean for the 350 million people on Earth who live with rare genetic diseases? Most of them so uncommon that no traditional drug company will ever chase a cure. It means the old model of medicine, built for common conditions in large markets, is no longer the only path. And N of 1 therapy, medicine for one, has left the realm of science fiction and entered a hospital room in Philadelphia. It also means we stand at a threshold that is both luminous and uneasy. If we can correct a lethal mutation in a 6-month-old, what will we choose to correct in decades ahead? Which letters will we decide are wrong? Who will have access to this molecular pencil? And who will be left holding the damaged page? The technology that saved KJ was the product of public funding, academic collaboration, and private industry moving at wartime speed. Scaling that speed and the collaboration to thousands of unique mutations will demand new ways of regulating, manufacturing, and paying for medicine. Yet the philosophical weight is heavier still. For the first time, a human being was given a second draft of his own genetic story, while the first draft was still being lived. We are no longer only readers of a book of life. We are becoming its co-authors. That power is profound. It forces us to ask what we believe a human life is worth when the cost of rewriting one letter is measured in millions of dollars and the labor of hundreds of scientists. It asks whether love, the fierce, ordinary love of 2 parents who said yes to an experiment, can become a force that bends the future of medicine itself. KJ Muldoon's single wrong letter has been corrected. The rest of the book is still being written by him, by his family, and by every researcher who now knows the unthinkable is no longer impossible. The code is no longer destiny. It is editable. And that changes everything about what it means to be human in the centuries ahead. That's it for episode 50. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Share it with a friend. And until next time, stay strange and question everything.